On the morning of September 29th, 1364, the mist hanging over the river loch doesn't smell like rain. It smells like salt, marsh mud, and the nervous sweat of 7,000 men waiting to die. On a sloping ridge in southern Brittany, Sir John Chandos stands motionless, watching the enemy army below. He issues a command that ripples down the English line, chilling the blood of even the hardest veterans. No ransom, no prisoners. Today is not about the chivalric game of capturing wealthy knights for gold. Today is about extermination. Down in the marsh, Charles of Blois, the man claiming the dukedom of Brittany, kisses a reliquary and orders his banners forward. He does not know that he is marching into a trap that will snap the spine of French power for a generation. By sunset, one duke will be the ruler of Brittany, and the other will be a stripped corpse in the mud. The ultimatum expires at noon. For weeks, the English-backed forces of John de Montfort have besieged the castle of Auray, starving the garrison inside. But now, the relief army has arrived, a massive French host led by Charles of Blois and the legendary Bertrand du Guesclin. They are massing on the far side of the river, their armor glinting like a sea of steel against the autumn grey. Chandos, the finest tactician England has ever produced, knows he is sandwiched between the castle behind him and the army before him. He makes a decision that looks like retreat, but is actually the opening move of a masterclass. He orders his men to abandon the siege lines, pull back, and form a shield wall on the high ground of a nearby slope. He is inviting the French to cross the river and come get him. As the English men-at-arms dig their heels into the turf, the history of 23 years of civil war weighs on their shoulders. They call it the War of the Two Joans, a grinding, miserable conflict that has burned Brittany to the ground. But today, the proxy war ends. Young John de Montfort, raised in the court of Edward III, watches the French movement with a cold, predatory gaze. Beside him, the English archers are already planting their stakes, the same deadly formation that broke the French at Crécy. Down in the valley, the French war council is screaming. Bertrand du Guesclin, the eagle of Brittany, slams his fist into his palm. He begs Charles of Blois not to attack. He points to the English position on the ridge, the solid wall of dismounted knights. "Starve them out," he urges. "Force them to move." But Charles of Blois is a man possessed. He wears a hair shirt beneath his armor, a constant, scratching penance against his skin. He believes God is the only general he needs. He looks at the English on the hill, the heretics, the invaders, and sees a divine test. He ignores the greatest soldier of the age and gives the order to cross the river. The movement begins. 4,000 Franco-Breton soldiers step into the marsh. The mud sucks at their sabatons, slowing their advance to a crawl. On the English right, Sir John Chandos watches them come. He is calm, almost bored. He knows that an army moving through a marsh loses its formation. But he has one more card to play, a secret that will decide the fate of the day. Hidden behind a thick hedge on the far side of the field, 200 of the fiercest English knights lie in wait. They are commanded by Sir Hugh Calveley, a giant of a man who eats chainmail for breakfast. Calveley had nearly come to blows with Chandos earlier, furious at being left out of the main fight. But now, crouching in the shadows, he understands. He is the hammer that will fall when the anvil is ready. A strange silence descends as the French clear the marsh and reform their lines. Then, a ripple of unease moves through the French ranks. A greyhound, a sleek, white dog known to belong to Charles of Blois, trots across the no-man's land. It ignores the French calls. It runs up the slope to the English lines and stands on its hind legs, placing its paws on the chest of John de Montfort. The English soldiers roar with superstitious joy. Even the beasts know who the true duke is. Down below, Charles of Blois watches his dog defect. His face goes pale. The omen is unmistakable. God has left the building. The first sound is the hum. It starts low and ends in a wooden clatter. The English longbows open up. The arrows don't fly in a high arc. At this range, they are driven flat and hard, punching through mail and finding the gaps in visors. The French knights lower their heads, hunching their shoulders against the steel rein, and begin the trudge uphill. To walk into a storm of bodkin points requires a kind of courage that borders on madness. But these are the flower of French chivalry, and they do not stop. The impact is deafening. 3,000 French men-at-arms slam into the English line. There is no room for swordplay here. This is a crush, a shoving match of tons of plate armor grinding together. Men hack at the soldier in front of them with shortened lances and poleaxes. In the center, the fighting is so tight that the dead cannot even fall. They remain upright, held in place by the press of the living. The English archers, their arrows spent, drop their bows and draw heavy falchions and axes. On the right, Charles of Blois fights with the fury of a martyr. He seeks death or victory, and he doesn't care which. His division pushes hard against the English line. For a moment, the English formation buckles. Sir John Chandos sees the danger. He is in the thick of it, his surcoat slashed. He recognizes the crisis point. He glances toward the hedge. It is time. Sir Hugh Calveley sees the signal. He rises from the cover of the woods, his 200 fresh knights mounting a terrifying roar. They do not charge the front, they swing wide. Like a scythe, they crash into the exposed flank of the French left wing. The French soldiers, exhausted from the uphill grind and locked in combat to their front, suddenly hear the thunder of attack from their blind side. Panic is instant. The flank crumples like wet parchment. The Count of Auray is surrounded and dragged down. The panic spreads like a contagion. As the French tire, stepping over the bodies of their comrades, the English line seems to regenerate. Chandos pulls exhausted men out of the front rank and feeds in fresh fighters from the reserve. It is a relentless hydraulic pressure that the French cannot match. The no-quarter order is now in full effect. English soldiers are not asking for surrender. They are driving their weapons into the fallen. In the center of the collapse, Bertrand du Guesclin refuses to yield. He swings a heavy battle-axe, shattering shields and denting helms. He fights with the desperation of a man who knows that defeat means the end of his legend. His axe handle splinters. He draws a sword. It snaps on an English helmet. Finally, Sir John Chandos himself steps through the press. "The day is done, Bertrand," he says. Du Guesclin, chest heaving, nods once. He surrenders, not to the army, but to the man. But for Charles of Blois, there is no such courtesy. The English have been told that only one duke leaves this field. He is found isolated, his banner down. An English soldier drives a lance through his chest. As he falls, another moves in with a dagger. They strip his armor from his body, looking for gold. Instead, they find the hair shirt, rough and bloody, matted against his skin. The soldiers stop, staring at the instrument of self-torture. They realize they haven't just killed a duke, they have killed a saint. The rout is total. The French army is not just defeated, it is erased. As the sun sets, John de Montfort walks the field. He finds the body of his rival Charles, lying on a shield. The young duke, usually so cold, stares down at the face of the man who fought his family for 2 decades. He begins to weep. Perhaps it is relief. Perhaps it is the terrifying realization of what it cost to win. The victory at Auray is absolute, yet history has a wicked sense of humor. Once secure, John IV realizes he cannot be an English puppet and pays homage to the French king. And while the English celebrate, they have inadvertently released the captured Du Guesclin back to France, the very man who will eventually destroy their empire. If you want to uncover more lost battles that shaped the modern world, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We'll see you in the next chapter of history.